I know it sounds crazy, but it changed my life. And it continues to. When she told us to drop everything now, I did. I went out and bought a camera. I finally got a solid reason to stop dragging my feet, and that was Speak Now, Taylor's version. Is this content? Just drink coffee in front of the camera. This is my first real video that I've filmed, except for reels. I do have an Instagram and I do run a small business. I've filmed a couple of reels, that's pretty much the extent of it, and I don't think that that's quite the same, but we're working on it. So I've been dragging my feet about starting a YouTube channel for as long as I can literally remember, probably 5 years now, and every year that passes by, I'm like, why did I wait another year? I finally got a solid reason to stop dragging my feet, and that was Speak Now, Taylor's version. Now, I don't know if I want to be a Swiftie channel, but I will say that that will probably be at least a good portion of my content because I am a lifelong Swiftie. Speak Now is one of my favorite albums of all time, and every single time an album has dropped in the last 3 years since Folklore, I've been like, why didn't I film my reaction to Folklore? Why didn't I film my reaction to Red Taylor's version? That's my other favorite Taylor album. Why on earth did I just wait? I could not miss the opportunity to film my reaction to Speak Now, Taylor's version. I also couldn't miss my opportunity to share how important this album was to me. When she told us to drop everything now, I did. I went out and bought a camera, I went out and bought a ring light, and I decided that I was gonna make it work. There's always gonna be reasons not to try and not to start. One of mine was that we live in a pretty small apartment. However, I mean, my boyfriend collects plants, and this is such a beautiful backdrop. So what more can we need? We have Taylor here. We have some other friends over there. See if you can spot any that you recognize. Today, what I am so excited to talk too much about is Speak Now, all things Speak Now. So why it means so much to me, my predictions, my worries about the album, and just some like little tidbits that I'm excited to share to why some of the older Swifties, a geriatric Swiftie such as myself, maybe are so excited about this particular album. What I mean when I say geriatric Swiftie is that I have been a Taylor Swift fan as long as there's been a Taylor Swift to be a fan of. Taylor Swift herself is exactly 1 year younger than me, almost to the day. It's meant a lot to me to have her to grow up with. Pretty sure that I bought the Taylor Swift CD blind. I don't think I knew what I was buying. I was like, oh, I'll just buy it. It's cute, like has butterflies. I literally had no idea what I was buying. I was just one of those very impulsive ADHD, shout out, and I just like to read the booklets. And I remember reading her booklet and being like, oh my gosh, this girl, she gets me. I love reading CD booklets. She writes all these cool things in her CD booklet. So I bought the debut album, and that was, as they say, history. I literally was a fan ever since. And I would say that I became a Swiftie when I first heard Sparks Fly. So that's one of the reasons why this album is so special to me. Sparks Fly, the song, was actually released for available to be listened to before there was ever anything resembling a Speak Now album because of something called LimeWire. If you are young, you have no idea what that is. LimeWire was an illegal downloading software you could download on your, and it's also one called Napster. I'm really showing my age right now. You could download illegal downloads of things. Now, before anybody gets like traumatized, I never downloaded like Love Story. You know what I mean? Like I bought those on the iTunes store, but there were songs that you could not get on the iTunes store because they were not released, or it was a live recording. So it'd be like Love Story Live from God knows where. So you could download those on LimeWire. It was usually not a great recording, but I downloaded any Taylor Swift song that I could find that I didn't already have, that I didn't already purchase. Okay, I also have all the Taylor's versions of the new records before anybody comes for me. I always support my Taylor financially. But downloaded Sparks Fly. I think I was a freshman in college when I illegally downloaded that. I asked my mom for a guitar. A little impulsive. That song is why I began playing the guitar. Playing the guitar was very therapeutic for me in college. I am not good. Not see me playing a lot of guitar on this channel, but it is something that I enjoy doing, and I do like to sing, so it's just like something I do for fun. I did a couple of little open mics and talent shows, but I was singing Sparks Fly at all my talent shows in college before the album ever came out. I just loved that song so much, something about it, and I wanted to play it and sing it, long story short. So Sparks Fly came out, I was obsessed with it. I learned how to play the guitar. I started playing some of Taylor's older songs, like Cold As You and I'd Lie, which are two of my other songs that I love to play on the guitar. Very underrated, by the way. I'd Lie better be on debut Taylor's version, or I will throw hands. I will throw hands. When the album dropped, I was so happy. However, I was happy it was coming, but I was going through it. I was going through a terrible breakup. It was my first real heartbreak. Also, I think I was already fighting off some depression prior to that relationship, and that ending really threw me for a loop. And there Taylor was. And when I tell you that this album healed me from the inside, I am not kidding. When I tell you that I listened to this album thousands and thousands of times on repeat and I listened to nothing else, that entire year. And it's just, even to this day, some of these songs just hit me really hard. So naturally, when I heard that this album was coming out, I was extremely excited. I did film my like reaction when I realized like how important this all was to me. I had a very emotional reaction to the idea that we get to re-experience this album is really important to me. So I thought I would share that. Fast forward if you're gonna make fun of me, because I'm really not in the mood. I'm a brand new creator, and I don't have a thick skin yet, so please don't share your criticisms of my crying. But I think that people that are, Swifties will understand. So I just had a little bit of a processing moment for Speak Now Taylor's version that I kind of wanted to share. Whether or not I'll post this, I don't know, because I'm probably gonna cry like a child, as you can tell. I've already been doing that. I was really thinking about, the impact this album had on me, the impact that it has the potential to have on people if they haven't heard it before. But I was really thinking about how it's like really a gift to be able to re-experience something that changed your life. And it's not something that you get often, I wish that I had a memory of, like a real memory of the first time that I heard Sparks Fly. I know that it was impactful to me. Like, that's the reason why I literally went out and bought a guitar to learn how to play Sparks Fly. That album, everything about it impacted me so heavily. When the album came out, I was in my most depressed era of my life, like one of the worst, darkest times of my life. I had no idea who I was. I had no idea where I was. I had no idea where I was going. I was lost. But I was a Swiftie since I was 16. And so it was almost like I was reminded of who I was. And I also felt really seen and heard, because very similarly to a lot of songs on the album, I was going through like a horrific breakup, my first real big heartbreak. And so I remember being so lost and feeling like I had nobody, and feeling like nobody understood me, and then feeling like Taylor Swift did, however crazy that sounds, and being able to process my feelings and all of that in like a safe way. And just the idea that we get to re-experience that is something I don't take lightly. I know that other Swifties that were around at the time are going to feel similarly, but I also think that some of these songs, especially on Speak Now, have the power to potentially change people's lives now that weren't even alive then, or like we're so young then, I just hope that other people get to experience that. But I'm so thankful that we get to re-experience it, because I know it sounds crazy, but it changed my life. And it continues to, and I am so excited to re-experience it in this new way, especially being in a different place in my life where it's not going to be like I'm also sad. It's just going to be like remembering what it was like to feel heard and seen and connected. And for anyone who wasn't around at the time, Taylor was at that like early 18, 19, 20 age when she wrote this. There was she was starting to do the like public dating thing. Like, she dated John Mayer, she dated Taylor Lautner, and people were starting to write about her dating life, but she wasn't the big pop sensation that she became later on. It wasn't as pervasive yet, so I think she was a little more honest in her songwriting at this time, which is why we get these beautiful, Dear John, Last Kiss tracks that are so vulnerable. I think we still got that in the future, but I do think that starting at like maybe Lover era, we started to see a little bit less detail, because people were so picking things apart with a fine-tooth comb. But at this point, we weren't doing that yet. So there was a lot of, if you were doing that, it was only because you were a deep Swiftie. So that, I think, really created a really fun atmosphere for Swifties, and I loved the vibe of being a Swiftie at that time. I also loved that because she was definitely a huge famous artist. Like, Speak Now World Tour was huge, but it wasn't the same as now, where like you can assume that most people know who she is, or they at least like, I feel like literally everybody likes at least one Taylor Swift song, right? Like, even my boyfriend doesn't really listen to music, and I point to the plants because these are his plants. He likes a couple of Taylor songs. So, but at this point, it wasn't like that. So I remember when the new album came out, people would like approach me and be like, "What do you think?" Because it was like well known on my campus that I was like this Taylor Swift girl. But I wanted to talk a little bit about predictions. So I'm not going to predict I missed the boat on the vault tracks. I was going to predict some vault tracks, but I would have been wrong. The only song that I knew was going to be on there was Castles Crumbling. The other ones I've never heard of. And I think there's another one that people have said that is online, but I don't want to listen to it because I want to listen to the new version. Castles Crumbling was one of those LimeWire like ones from God knows when. And so was Battle Let's Go, which I'm kind of salty about, but I'm guessing it's because she didn't maybe write it herself. But My predictions on the vault tracks as of now are that the Fall Out Boy and the Paramore tracks are going to slap. And I just want it on the record, even though no one even cares, that I have been saying for years that Speak Now, a lot of songs on Speak Now. Paramore is another band that I love. Paramore and Taylor Swift are my two favorite artists, and additionally Fall Out Boy. That's what I listen to in the gym, okay? Paramore, Fall Out Boy, and then like Better Than Revenge by Taylor Swift. So I've always said that a lot of these songs could totally be performed by Paramore and it would not sound weird. The Story of Us, Haunted were always my biggest example. If Paramore sang Haunted, it would not sound weird. It would sound totally cohesive. And it was very, very reassuring for me when she said that she loves Fall Out Boy and Paramore, because I always thought it was super weird that that's my interest level. Like, I love Paramore, Fall Out Boy, Panic, like Yellow Card, like for those of you who've been around, and Taylor Swift. And there's not really a middle. Like, I don't really stan many other artists. And so I always found it kind of weird. So now I feel kind of validated. And also validated in saying that Speak Now has always been kind of her most rock sounding album, even though it was classified as country. I don't think it had any business being classified as country. Not that there aren't a couple of country, like, I guess, like sprinkles in there, like Mean. But other than that, I really don't think that it sounds very country at all. And I think that if it was released now as a pop album, nobody would really ask questions. Also, just for, you know, for the sake of argument, I think the seeds of pop were always there, and I don't think that there was ever a way that Taylor was never going to become a pop artist. If you really, really listen to her interviews, and if you look at like the Love Story pop remix, I think there was a Tears from My Guitar pop remix. Like, why would you make a pop remix of a country song if you had no desire to go pop? Anyway, my predictions are that those two vault tracks with the featured artists are going to slap. The other thing is, I think that Timeless is going to slap, and I only say that because I feel like when Taylor picks a feeling or like a word and just goes with it, there's usually something there. And Foolish One, I think, is going to be one of those songs where she flips the meaning. Like, it's going to be like, I'm the foolish one, you're the foolish one. Much like you should have known, I should have known, all of that. I remember it, you remember it all too well. We all know how it gogoes. I think that song, I think they're all going to slap, to be honest. I'm hoping that they're more on the Red Vault track side of things than Fearless Vault track. I didn't love those as much. I obviously was so thankful to get them at all. Like, she doesn't owe us any of this. But they're not my favorite songs. Like, none of those are my favorite songs on Fearless, but a couple of the songs on the Red Vault are my favorite Red songs. A Better Man is in my top 5 ever. So, obviously all too well 10. So I hope that we get a really solid vault, and I think we will, because this album was about her writing her own music and speaking in her own voice, and that's always my personal favorite Taylor. Not that I don't love me some Folklore and Evermore, those are some of my favorite albums as well, but I just love when she's being super raw and authentic about her own feelings. It's always been my favorite Taylor, and I love that we get to go back and see maybe some things that we didn't know were there, maybe some things that we didn't realize were happening at the time, or just a different way of explaining something that you also felt. Like I said, I'm in a committed, happy relationship now, but I still bawl out to Dear John, and I still understand exactly what she's feeling, and sometimes I just scream that song in the car and it gets so much emotion out of me. And so even if you're not necessarily relating to it now, I think you can always relate to something that she's saying. I wanted to talk a little bit about my predictions for the general track list and some of my things that I'm excited about and some things that I'm worried about. To be fair, I don't really think that she's going to flub up any of these, because so Fearless is a good example. Fearless was a lot of live instruments as well. Fearless was a lot more raw than I'd say like Red, which is a little more produced. Like, I Knew You Were Trouble, I know some people don't like the way that came out. I don't really have a problem with it. Separate video. I think that people are being too picky, but We Are Never Getting Back Together, I Knew You Were Trouble, I've heard people complain a lot about those. Valid. I mean, if you are madly in love with the original track and the new one just doesn't do it for you, I don't fault you for that. But on Fearless, I feel like I couldn't hear any that were worse or any that were not as good as the original. Speak Now, I'm hoping will have the same effect, and I think that Taylor always is listening, and we've had a long time since Red came out, and people have been very vocal about their complaints, and mostly the complaints were if it didn't match the original recording. And so I think that she will work really hard to make it pretty close to the original. I only have a couple of songs that I'm a little bit nervous about. If I'm really affected by the vocal performance of the song, I'm a little nervous about it. My concern is more on the second half of the album. So Haunted is one that I'm a little worried about, because in some ways I think that Haunted works so well because of the whininess of her voice, and like because of that like younger kind of desperate pleading voice. And if you hear her new vocals now, her vocals are amazing, but she kind of lost that whiny quality. I'm not saying that as an insult that she was whiny. I think that it was a vocal choice. house, and I think it worked really well for some of the songs. The other one that I'm actually a little worried about is The Story of Us, for the same reason. There's a little bit of that like desperation in her voice, and that youngness kind of works really well for that plot line. And there's something about the way she says certain things in those specific tracks that I just love. Like, not that I wouldn't still love them. It's only ever happened to me with one of the other re-recorded songs. I will withhold the title of that song that I still have a hard time sometimes listening to. The rest of them I've never had a problem with. So I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. I know that people are holding their breath for that little breath on Last Kiss. I agree, and I think that she will be able to do that. It's kind of like the laughs at the end of Everything Has Changed, or the beginning of Everything Has Changed. And then, what is it? Haha, that was fun. Is that like Stay, Stay, Stay? So she did all of that stuff. I think she knows we want that. The songs that I think are gonna slap, I think that Mine is gonna slap. I think Sparks Fly is gonna slap. I think Dear John is gonna slap, because that's a song that's beautiful no matter what, and her new vocals are so much better. So I think that's gonna be so amazing. I think that the Vol tracks are gonna slap as well. I think that Innocent is gonna slap, but I think it's gonna be an interesting perspective switch. And I wonder how she's gonna sing it now. I wonder if it's gonna sound a little less forgiving than it did initially. I actually love that song. People always say that that's a skip, and I don't agree with them at all. I think it's a beautiful song. And I think that you have to separate it from who it's about, because there's a lot of beautiful lyrics in that song that could relate to a lot of situations. None of us were ever interrupted by Kanye West, so we can relate to the song Fly. None of us were ever interrupted on stage when we were receiving an award by Kanye West, so we can certainly relate to the song without associating it to Kanye. I kind of think of it as like I always kind of think of it as a person who hurt you in your past, whether it's like a male. That's what usually I think of, because thinking about the album, definitely a breakup album vibe, and so I tend to think of it like you're forgiving the person that hurt you, like the Dear John person, whoever your Dear John is, and telling them that they could start over and they could not be this way, and maybe, you know, they could change. That's something that I think about. And then also I think about like when you have a friend breakup. That's how I feel about Breathe as well. I know that Breathe, obviously she says she feels like she lost a friend, but I've always felt like that was a little bit more of a friendship vibe than some of the breakup songs. I feel like Breathe is really good for like a friendship breakup. If you've ever had a friend that you were really close to that you lost for some reason, I've always found that a little more relatable for those particular tracks. And I'm thinking that Innocent could be a little bit different vibe. Now, I also am curious how Never Grow Up is going to sound. I think it's going to be kind of sad to think of it in more of it. I think it was kind of interesting for someone her age. She was so young to sing about staying young. Like, I was like, you're still a baby. Like, when I listen to it now, I'm like, you were like a literal baby. You were like 19 years old. But it'll be interesting to hear it from her current adult voice. I think that'll be really pretty. My other prediction is that it's going to be a little more rock sounding. I think there's going to be a little bit more rock production allowed, because she has mentioned several times that she was very much encouraged not to be too experimental with her old label. And I think that she said she idolizes Fall Out Boy and Paramore. I think she's going to want to lean into the rock. I don't think she's going to change the production on the existing tracks too much, because I think that would be tempting people to listen to the old ones, which just kind of defeats the purpose. But I think the new tracks will have a little bit more of that, hopefully. And I am holding out hope. Another prediction that I have is that there's going to be a live album, and that's why we're not getting the Haunted acoustic or the Back to December acoustic, because I think there's going to be a full live album released, because she has a Speak Now live album available on Spotify, owned by the old record company. I don't think that she would miss the opportunity to recreate that or reclaim that in any way, shape, or form. Also, there haven't been, up until now, so just now when Speak Now is about to come out, she hasn't performed a ton of Speak Now on this tour. There's probably at least half the track list left, if not more, and like Fearless and Red are almost done. So I think that she is trying to withhold that live sounding Speak Now a little bit, just so that the live recording that I am sure we're gonna get is gonna come. And I just want to point out that in the newly released international tour dates, there is a big gap. I believe it's August to November. There's a big gap, and then there's another gap for like December, January. Obviously, she probably wants to celebrate the holidays, but we also know that Homegirl was in the studio on her birthday last year, December 13th. I know her birthday because her birthday's the day before mine. It's also my mom's birthday. I'm not that psycho, but a little bit I am. But in any case, I think that there's going to be some stuff happening, rumbles happening during that time, whether it is a Speak Now live recorded performance of some kind and then a CD available. But I never ever put it past Miss Taylor to throw a wrench into Scooter Braun and Scott, and as well she should. She would not miss the opportunity to reclaim even those albums, because that album probably streams plenty. And I also think that it's never been about the money, which we can tell by the fact that she didn't do 1989 first. Right, like if it was all about the money, Blank Space is one of her most streamed songs of all time. So is Shake It Off. So is I Don't Want to Live Forever. If she really wanted to reclaim it for money purposes only, I think that she would have done 1989 first. But I think that Speak Now is so special to Taylor and so special to us. If anything was ever going to make me start a channel, it was going to be this album, and I am so excited. Obviously, I love my original. I have the original vinyl. Nobody come at me, okay? I'm a collector of all the Taylor things. I wanted to have the originals just for like the visual of it. But the thing with buying an album or a record is that you then don't stream it. So if I listen to the album, the vinyl, I don't stream the song now. So I'm not making anybody any money, except for on the new ones, which I already pre-ordered all 3 of the new Speak Nows. So nobody come at me. I cannot wait. That's all I'm gonna say. I hope that this video is at least moderately interesting, and I'm excited about maybe just trying to get into the habit of filming more, talking a little bit more about other things that I'm interested in. I have a lot of collections of things. I'm a mediocre guitar player. I was thinking of doing a series where I try to learn like my top 10 favorite Taylor songs. I think that'd be kind of cool because that would also force me to play the guitar more. So any ideas you have for videos, please drop them. My next video will probably be my reaction to Speak Now Taylor's version, and then I'm also going to Speak Now release party, so I'm gonna vlog that. I also went to the Eras tour. I don't know if I said that already. I was gonna vlog that as well, and I did take a lot of videos. I just don't think anyone's gonna watch it because why would they watch it if they don't follow this channel that doesn't exist yet? But you know what, maybe we'll just make it anyway, and then someone can watch it someday if they want to. I did get one of my favorite songs ever as a secret song. If anyone can guess, drop it in the comments below. I think I mentioned the name of the song during this video, so there we are. I also am located in Massachusetts, if that's a little hint for you. I pre-apologize if this is choppy, but I think that we're gonna learn as we go, just like we did with our reels. So I hope everybody has a very wonderful rest of their day. I hope you're all as excited for Taylor's version as I am, and I hope you'll come back and watch me enjoy listening to it. I will also be babysitting my 3-month-old niece that night, so she's gonna listen with me. We'll see how that goes. I don't know how helpful she's gonna be with commentary, but she is very adorable, and babies are peak entertainment. I don't think she's gonna be much of a camera girly though, because she's still a baby, but we'll see how that goes. So I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your week. I will be so excited to listen to the new album with you, and if you could do me a great favor and like this video and subscribe to this channel to help me get started and maybe post more content, that would be super helpful, and I will see you in the next one.